Good day, viewers. You're welcome me to another episode of Footy Warzone Frenzy. Footy Warzone, it's your favorite host, King's Kid 50, and with me here is
Machine Gun John.
Machine Gun John. And as you know, this episode is proudly brought to you by Brian's Food and Wear Store. Now we're about to talk about the Premier League teams, how they will fare in the coming season.
2025-2026.
In the 2025-2026 season. It's going to be a banger if you ask me. Now, Machine Gun John, let's talk about Chelsea. Chelsea first. They recently won the Club World Cup. The world champions. How do you think they will fare in this season?
Well, I wrote them off through the Club World Cup tournament, but I will not be delving too much into that. So I'll take this period to say congratulations to Chelsea, even though it's coming late. Congratulations to them on their Club World Cup victory. But this coming season, I see them going south. I don't see positives from them. Now they have loads of South American players. They have players from continents outside Europe. They've just finished this tournament. They are currently celebrating. After this, I expect them to get at least 3 weeks off. Liverpool have started their preseason tour already. Likes of Man U also have started. The other top clubs are to follow. Now, you would agree with me that the level of preparation by August would be very, very different compared to this club. I believe Club World Cup will take its toll on Chelsea, and I expect them to have a very slow start to the Premier League. The Premier League now is tough. You can see the signings the likes of Newcastle are making. It shows you that nobody is here to joke. And the Premier League is getting tougher as it is. And if I'm going to make my rough prediction, it's going to be a tough race for Chelsea to make it into the top five.
Okay, well, that's your opinion. To me, looking at the addition of the Chelsea team, though, I would agree with you on the point that the Club World Cup will take a toll on them because we're looking at about 2 to 3 weeks rest after this tournament because of the weather and all. So, and as like you said, most of their players are now South American. You have just few European players in the team. We have more of South American key players now in the team. But I still think they will do well. It wouldn't affect them much. Okay, the first two matches might be shaky, but at the end of the day, I think they will balance up. They don't need much. They train together through the Club World Cup tournament, so there's not much for them. At least that Club World Cup tournament made them gel a bit, and the players they bought, especially the two strikers, likes of Liam Delap and João Pedro, they keyed into the team. You can see what João Pedro did in the Club World Cup. A player that was just signed few days in the tournament, not even during the tournament or so, a few days to the tournament. Look at what he did. He's scoring goal in the final, scoring in the semi-final, something like that. So he really keyed into the system. So I think Chelsea will go far. I'm tipping them for a top four spot, though I don't see them winning the league, to be honest. I think they still have a lot to do. I don't see them winning the league, but I'm very sure if they don't finish third, I'm sure they will finish fourth. I think they'll be in the top four. Then in the Champions League, I think they will go far, probably the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. I don't know, but I feel they will go far in Champions League due to the addition they've made and the way they play. I think they'll do well. They'll do well. I think I see them in the top four.
Okay, as I am King's Kid 50, that's all about Chelsea. Let's move on to Man U, which is what everybody wants to hear. Man U 2025-2026. What do you see?
Well, so far, with what I've seen or with what is happening, I see Man U outside the top five. I don't see them in the top
Are you
five.
talking about the top five or the bottom half?
No, top five actually.
Top five, okay.
Yes. I see them outside the top five. This season, I know definitely they'll be in the top 10. That is for sure. Because at least.
Speaking of for sure, have you noticed there's no much changes to this side so far?
Well, there has been a change. They made about 2 signings. Cunha is there.
Okay.
Then I think after Cunha, who did they sign again? Man is not a very serious team. I think that Man has an internal problem. I don't know because
I expect the conversation should be if they would make it to the top 10. Because you're speaking of top 5 like they're irregular there. They are not. They've not been in a while.
They've not been in a while, though. But this is a new season. Now, this is a full season for Amorim. I think Amorim will try and bring his spark of brilliance into this
It's not
season.
just spark of brilliance. This man, you have an issue. They've overpaid a lot of players and they are not willing to leave the team because nobody is going to give them that figure. You can see the likes of Marcus Rashford, uh, Ganacho. They are not ready to leave the team. Why? Because no team is ready to afford their wages. They are not willing to cut down. So they want to stay in the club and continue earning that lumper sum without having to do nothing and taking the club to 15. I believe what we saw last season is the beginning of the end of Manchester United. I see them having a mid-table season as they did last year. Last year is not even a mid-table. I think they were closer to the. I don't know, but I see them maybe just a little bit progression, maybe 11th or 10th. That you are talking about top five. I'm wondering if it's the same man you were talking about because if there's any club we feel should have the most transfer activity this summer, it is Man U. But it's not happening. Kings Kid 50.
So far, it is not happening, but the transfer window is not closed yet. We don't know what would happen. And speaking of these players that are receiving high wages, that no club is that and they don't want to collect pay cuts. I'm sure Man U will look figure a way to push them out. And the likes of Sancho, someone like Sancho, uh, I know if to terminate his contract, Man U just look for a way to push such.
They
But there are
can't.
many players. Let's face the fact. There are many players Man U has to just push out of that team for the team to progress.
Pushing out is not that easy. They have a contract. The club signed them. This
Hmm.
if a player is so nonchalant to the level where he can afford to be on the bench and keep earning his pay, he will be earning his pay as far as he is coming to training and is doing his due diligence. He's not being paid to play for 90 minutes. And the fact that he's not being selected is not his fault. The contract is the contract. He gets paid for it. And these boys know these things. They are willing to frustrate Man U out. Look at the likes of Jordan Sancho asking for a compensation pay if he's going to move to Juventus, allegedly. Maybe that's true or not, but it's what we've heard so far. That's what the rumors are saying. You're moving to Juventus, they can't afford to pay that your wage. You want to take a pay cut, but Man U has to compensate you with a particular fee for leaving the club. It has got that's the height of it all. We don't see things like this in football. Man U, I believe this is the beginning of the end for Manchester United.
If you would ask me, there's this thing with these English players. They believe there's this arrogancy with the English players. So they believe they are kind of superior to other players, especially in the Premier League. And someone like Sancho is not a very good player. Not a good player. He's
Not a
on
serious
serious
player.
player. He's an unserious player. In fact, because I know Chelsea wanted to retain him, but the wage problem was the issue. Chelsea cannot pay that wage for a player like Sancho that will just be coming in to make a small difference because it's obvious that Sancho cannot be a regular starter in that Chelsea team. So someone like Sancho giving Man U these conditions, you won't blame a player like that because at first this guy when they brought him, he has a contract. I think it was about 100 million plus they bought Sancho, so it was supposed to be a big signing. But things fell apart because Man U they feel okay the money is there so they can just sign this, sign that, sign that. Now the problem the club has issues. Imagine a club closing the staff canteen, closing player canteen, closing this one. Tell players, okay, you can only take tea once in a day. You can this one, you wash your boots. You can imagine that internal problem. Ronaldo complained when he came back that one year has not changed. There are some things that are still there's some archaic mindset and mentality. So my problem goes beyond the players and the coach. I think there's something wrong somewhere.
With all this said, what's your final prediction?
My final, I still see them in the top 10, to be honest, because I know the transfer season window is still up. So I
Pick a
think
number.
let's between 6 to 10. I see them between 6 to 10.
Between 6 to 10.
Yes,
Okay.
between 6
Let's
to 10.
let's talk about Spurs. This team is coming from a European championship win. They have the Super Cup to play very soon. And how do you see their season?
Well, speaking of sports and speaking of the Super Cup, I think there's a deliberation going on about the Europa Super Cup because some factions are saying there should be a match between the Conference League winner and the Europa League winner. That is Chelsea versus Tottenham. Then the winner will go ahead to face the Champions League winner. I don't know. I don't think UEFA has had this final
Well, I think
verdict.
if there's going to be a final verdict, it won't kickstart this season. If not, by
Okay.
now we should have heard something.
So, we're looking forward to
So
that
now the
match.
date is set already for Tottenham PSG.
Tottenham PSG. It's going to be a big one. If you ask me, Tottenham has had some good players to their squad, and the likes of Mohamed Kudus, and I think they added one other player, but Mohamed Kudus is the biggest name they've added so far. And Tottenham, they changed their coach to Frank, and Frank is a very good coach. He's a tactician. You can see what he did in Brentford. He's a very good coach, and I know he brings his expertise to the team. Well, I see Tottenham. I see Tottenham bringing up a good surprise this season. Because a lot of people wrote them off. Though last season they were good, but injuries and some other factors affected them. But they stick to the
Last
Europa
season they
League.
were good.
Yeah, they were. Yes, they were as some matches, but they had injury crisis. I think Tottenham had the most injury crisis in other Premier League team last season. The injury was too much. Is it that one player is coming from injury? One
Tottenham
player.
finished 16th or 17th last season. The
Hmm.
word they were good is I don't know. I think you are pushing it too much. They won the Europa, fine, but saying they were good last season, I believe it's a little bit too much.
A team that played the Europa from the scratch, from the group stage, from the group phase, and uh, to the final and won it. At least they are good. It might not be what we expect of them in the Premier League. The Premier League season might be bad, but at least they delivered in the Europa League. So at least they were good to an extent. And if you look at the Man U side too, but the Man U side are just, I think they're a bit worse because Tottenham, we know, okay, this team had issues. They had injury problems. At times, 11 players, and these are starters at a go. Some week they have 11 players injured. Some week they have 8 players injured. Some week they have 13 players injured. And these are top players. They are not always available. So this affected their season. And coupled with the fact that the management and the coach are not really on good terms. But thank God, Postecoglou was able to at least cough out something for them, like the Europa League. Still won something. So
And now they are in the Champions League.
and now they're in the Champions League. This is how they're hardening these players. So I still fancy them to be in the top four. That is if they didn't go far in the Champions League, in the top five, to so to speak. I think they will still be in top five this season. So I see Tottenham coming up strong because of Frank. I think his tactics will really work in Tottenham Hotspur.
Well,
And
I believe you're a little bit too ambitious for Tottenham Hotspurs. I
no.
don't think Spurs would even see themselves in the top five. But let's leave that at that. Let's talk about the Gunners. The Gunners are on the brink of a major signing in Victor Gyökeres, and uh, they've signed Christian Nogard to replace Thomas Partey. What do you think of their signing so far, and how do you see their 2025-2026 season?
No. Well, first of all, Nogard is not to replace Partey. Nogard is a defender. He's more of a defender. I think Zubimendi is to replace Partey. They signed Zubimendi to replace Partey. Well, their season, you can see the missing piece. If you watch Arsenal World last season, you see the missing piece is just that strike, that standing nine. And now, if they can get Gyökeres, I think it will be a very good advantage. It will be another advantage to the team because they need a prolific striker that can score week in, week out. Uh, and now they got Victor Gyökeres. So I think Arsenal will go far. I think Arsenal will go far. And Martinelli, I think they need a replacement in that left space. I don't know if they can get, and now they've gotten this Chelsea man, Madueke. I know the Madueke saga. It's quite, but Madueke is quite. He's a good player. I know he's a raw player. He's just coming up. You cannot rule him out. He's a player that is coming up. I think he will deliver. At least he will play his part. He's still very young. He will play his part in the Arsenal team. But I know most of Arsenal fans are like, why must we get Chelsea players all the time? Why have Chelsea players all the time? Every Chelsea rejects. Arsenal is buying them. No, I think Madueke will deliver in Arsenal. I think he will play his part, and he's still very young. And I think Arsenal will go far. I see them in the top four this season, but I don't see them winning the league. But I see them contending for the league. I think they are a strong contender for the league. If
If
you
we
ask
go
me.
on this way, you are going to see about 8 players in the top four this season. I don't know how you are going to infuse all of that because you keep
Okay, you
seeing
mean 8 teams?
8 teams in the
Okay.
top four this season. Because you keep infusing every team in the top four, and I wonder how it's going to be.
So far, I've only infused Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs. Then we are left with Liverpool and Man City. So this, we're talking of the top five, not top four.
So, you believe Tottenham will finish above the likes of Newcastle, Aston Villa, Brighton,
So far this season,
and
as
Man U?
so far, looking at judging from the transfer window, Aston Villa has not really been convincing. Because last season they used most loan players, the likes of Asensio, the likes of Rashford. These players has gone; they are no more there, and they've not made any signing like that per se. So I wouldn't know. I'm
So
not
let's talk about Newcastle.
okay. Newcastle United. Eddie Howe has been doing a very great job in that team. As you saw what Newcastle did last season, especially at the St James Park. The St James Park was a first choice last season. They didn't lose much games, and they really played very well. And with a prolific striker like Alexander Isak, though there is a rumor going on that he might go to Liverpool and that, but they've added, I think, Elanga, and Elanga is a very fine player, very fast, quick on the ball. You saw what he did in Nottingham
Very
Forest last
decisive.
season.
Yeah.
Very decisive, very good player, and there are more players to add up. So Newcastle, I think they'll do well. They'll do well. But I see them in the top 7, top 8, but I don't see them in the top 5. I don't see Newcastle in the top 5 this season. I don't see them.
Okay, so Spurs over Newcastle for Kingsgate 50 in the coming season. Let's see
Mm.
how that goes.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the champions, Liverpool Football Club, with
Well,
their signing so far and with their striker situation, how do you see Liverpool in the coming season?
Liverpool in the coming season. I with the arrival of Arne Slot, though we all expect Liverpool. Nobody expect Liverpool to win the league last season. The beginning of last season, Jurgen Klopp just left. This is a new coach coming in, and normally as a football fan, you feel okay, the team would have to adjust to the coach pattern. But surprisingly, the coach, without even signing anybody, with the same team, they won the league and really did well in another competition. The Carabao Cup, they lost in the final, and the Champions League they lost to PSG by penalty shootout in the round of 16. So Liverpool really did well last season. But speaking of this season, with the demise of Yota, may so rest in peace. I think Liverpool need to add to their striking department because uh, you can't depend on Nunes. Though Nunes is a great player, but judging from the last season performance, I think they can't really depend on him. They need to add to their striking department. So if they are lucky enough to get Alexander Isak, I think it will be a added advantage to them. Then I can tip them win the league or be a strong contender for the league, so to say.
Okay, speaking of which, Liverpool used a three forward formation. And if we should look at it now, presently we have Darwin Nunes, there is Luis Diaz, there is Cody Gakpo, there is Mohamed Salah, and there is Chiesa. Don't you think these five players are enough to uh, lead the aims of our fears at the striking department?
With the rumor going on now, I think Luis Diaz wants to leave, and his destination looks like Barcelona and or Bayern Munich. So if Luis Diaz leaves, and as it stands, I think Chiesa also will leave. So you are left with Darwin Nunes, which might also leave. So you're only left with Gakpo and Salah, who's a natural forward. So in that case, I think Liverpool still needs to add. And but there's a rumor that Liverpool will go for Rodrigo if Diaz leave. If Diaz leave and is replaced by Rodrigo, I think it's better because Rodrigo can use both foot well, can use his right and his left. He can play from the left and he can play from the right, and can also be a cover up for Salah. So, but if you can get Isak and Rodrigo, if that Luis Diaz leaves, I think that would be an edge. It might be a decisive one because the midfield is a bit balanced to me. The likes of Gravenberch, you have Soboslai, you have the new added guy from Germany, Florian Wirtz. You have McAllister, you have Endo, you have so they are
With,
top players. They are
with
top
the
players.
demise of Diogo Jota, I don't see Liverpool letting go of three forwards this summer. I don't think it's going to be a wise move for them, and I don't think they'll be willing to let go of three players this summer. So Darwin Nunes, Chiesa, and Luis Diaz. I think the best that can leave is just two of those three. So at least they have enough cover up for the following season. So that's that about Liverpool. Let's speak about Crystal Palace. Uh, their forward man, Philip Jean Mateta, has just been linked to Liverpool, and with the kind of season they had last season, I'm sure they are very disappointed with the fact that they've been relegated to the Conference League. And although they are still appealing in the court of arbitration sports, but we don't know how that is going to go yet. But I'm sure it must have been very disappointing for them moving down from the Europa to the Conference League. And let's talk about their season. Let's have it in mind. Let's just believe it's going to end in the Conference League. What should we expect from Crystal Palace?
Well, what to expect from Crystal Palace solely depends on the transfer window. If the likes of Ibere Eze leaves, the likes of Mateta leaves, I wouldn't expect much from them because these are key players and these are players that played a vital role in the success of Palace last season. So these two giants that are linked to other club, once they leave, uh, I wouldn't expect much. I wouldn't expect much from Crystal Palace. And although they'll be playing, well, as it stands, they'll be playing at the Conference League. I think they stand better chance playing in the Conference League than in
Compared
Europa
to the
League.
Europa? Yeah, yeah.
I think the manager of Crystal Palace should just play in the Conference League because when you play in the Conference League, you're not playing the big names. You are
Mhm.
playing the likes of FC Noah, you're playing clubs from Albania, clubs from Armenia, clubs from Lithuania, something like that. You're not playing the club from France.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not
true.
playing
I
you
think they
understand?
should just follow Chelsea footsteps, and maybe they
Yes.
might win something.
Yeah. So I think them playing in the conference league give them more chance. I think they can still advance. And with the format of the conference league now, these European competitions, I think Crystal Palace stand a
I
chance.
think they need a broader squad because Crystal Palace, most of the smaller teams, so to say, in Premier League, they have a team squad because they believe they are not playing in Europe, and now they have loads of games. The amount of games you play in this Conference League is the same you play in Champions League. There are a lot of games. They need a broader squad. They need to get some players on loan if they cannot afford to. So outrightly buy players. There are good players that will be available on loan before the transfer window ends for them to be able to compete. Because the Premier League is funny. You can see the toll of competing in European competition on the likes of Arsenal last season. They fell off at the end in the Premier League. You can see it on the likes of these guys that were in Tottenham and Manchester United. They both fell off to get to the final of the Europa League last season. So it takes its toll on the team. I just believe they need a wider squad. One of the reasons why Chelsea have been flourishing is they've leveraged so much on having so many players. They can afford at the beginning, earlier stages of the Conference League, Chelsea could afford to use different squad for the Premier League and the Conference League. Not many teams in Europe can afford that luxury, but I think Crystal Palace definitely needs to get bigger to compete.
Okay, that's true. I agree with you 100%. And another thing we've not talked about is Manchester City. Manchester City, the Guardiola side. And if you would ask me, I think Manchester City will be a force this season. They'll be a force to reckon with. Judging from the addition they've made to the squad. And the likes of Ryan Checky, or the likes of, uh, what's this guy called? I think they've signed about three players to the squad now, the three major players. And though they were not really convincing in the Club World Cup, though they played well, but if you would ask me, well, we can't judge from that. Let's see. But
Yeah, really, I expect Manchester City to start strong in the Premier League, and that's something which they do most of the time. I expect them to start strong. Their first 5 games I see nothing less than 4 wins in them. And but let's just see. This squad is not the same squad we know 2 3 years ago. I just believe the magic wand of Guardiola has disappeared, and he's just uh, trying to keep the boat afloat, trying to keep the ship afloat. And yes, I think they would compete. They would compete. It's going to be tough. If we are going to talk about the title race, really, I see Manchester City in the picture. I see Chelsea having a run at a point, but definitely I expect them to fall off. So I believe the race is more going to be between Liverpool FC and Manchester City. Then with maybe Arsenal coming third. Chelsea, I tip them to finish fourth in the coming season. While for fifth position, I can uh, I can tip Newcastle United if their star players don't leave this season. Those are my top five predictions from Machine Gun John.
Okay, if you'd ask me, my top five prediction will be Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Tottenham. That would be my top five prediction this season. I think Tottenham will finish fifth. I think Tottenham will finish fifth because why they're in the Champions League and I know they can't go far in the Champions League. So they'll follow up from the Champions League and focus more
It's
on the
not.
league.
I don't think we can say that they won't go far in the Champions League. The last time Tottenham were in the Champions League that I remember, they made it all the way to the final against Liverpool. So this is a team that they've showed that they can compete at this stage, and I expect them to at least make it up to the second phase. And even the second phase is a lot because that if you make it to the second phase of the Champions League, you will at least play 10 Champions League matches. Before on the former format, if you play 10 Champions League matches, you must have met yourself in the semi-finals already. But now it's quite different. So everybody's playing loads of games. I don't see them going out in the first round as an English club. I don't see that happening.
Well, that solely depends on the fixtures that we have in because we have mighty giants in Europe right now. So imagine pairing Tottenham with the likes of PSG, Madrid, uh, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. You wouldn't expect them to win these games. These are giants in Europe. But well, like we say, I fancy them to at least qualify for the second round. But from the second round, I think it might be a bit shaky for them, and they might come back home to focus on the league. So this is why I'm tipping them for fifth. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching this episode of Footy War Zone Frenzy. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, this episode was brought to you by Prime Foods and Westor. See you again.